You ever wondered how a simple WhatsApp group or, some niche online forum all of a sudden turns into $1 million business? Well, it's happening all over the place, and it's a sign of this fundamental shift in how we create value. Today, we're going to break down exactly how these loose social groups are evolving into these incredibly powerful business pipelines. Okay, let's get into it. So, to really get this, you have to see the old way versus the new way. For decades, business was all about the funnel. It's this linear, kind of extractive process that just stops once you make a sale. It's expensive, it's company driven, but the new way, it's the flywheel. It's cyclical. It brings customers right into the business. They become your biggest fans, your advocates. They even create content for you. And all of that dramatically lowers your costs and builds this amazing self reinforcing engine for growth.
So let's dig in first and ask, why is this all happening right now? Why are these old rules they governed business for so long, why are they suddenly breaking down for this new community-first approach? Well, the answer, like it always is, really comes down to the results. And what's so interesting here is the cold, hard data. Brands that are using this community flywheel model, they're seeing conversion rates from, say, online traffic to an actual sale of over 4%. Now, that is significantly higher than your typical industry average. So this isn't just some feel-good strategy. It's just a flat-out superior economic engine. Okay, so how does this journey from just a simple group chat to a real business actually begin? Well, the first step is maybe the most brilliant part of the whole model. The community acts as this perfect zero-risk laboratory for testing out your ideas before you ever write a line of code or build a single thing. Every single entrepreneur has this terrifying question staring them in the face. How do you know if your idea is any good? The old way was to, build something in secret, spend a fortune, and then cross your fingers and hope you could find someone to buy it. But this community model, it completely flips that script. And this just lays out the new logic perfectly. It's called the audience-first methodology. You start by finding a community, and you just listen. What are their hair-on-fire problems, the things they complain about constantly? Then, you validate your idea by manually solving that problem for just a few people. You just prove that they want it. And only then, only after you've proven the demand is real, do you actually build the final product. The takeaway here is revolutionary. You secure your customer base before the product even exists. And if you need proof that this actually works, just look at Design Joy. The founder, Brett Williams, he shared his progress openly in the Indie Hackers community. It's a practice people call build-in in public. That community became his focus group, and then they became his first customers. This allowed him to scale a design service to an incredible $1.3 million in annual recurring revenue as a one-person business. Just wow. Okay, so you validated your idea. What happens next? Well, now the community transforms from a lab into an operational engine. It starts providing the two things every single business needs to grow: talent and distribution.
Finding great people it's incredibly hard. Resumes, interviews, they can be so unreliable. So these communities, they solve this with a really smart concept they borrowed from the Web3 world called proof of work. Instead of judging people on a piece of paper, you judge them on their actual demonstrated skill. Can they really do the job? The whole idea is simple. Vet for skill, not for keywords on a resume. A group called Superteam, which is a talent network for the Solana blockchain, has mastered this. To join, you don't just fill out an application. No, you have to win a bounty. You have to actually fix a bug or write a really smart analysis, design a logo, or build a feature. Completing the task is the entrance exam. It guarantees that every single member is vetted and totally competent. And the economic power of this model is just staggering. Superteam actually tracks what it calls its community GDP. That's the total amount of money earned by its members. And that number has already blown past $1.7 million. This proves that a community isn't just a social thing. It's a powerful economic entity all on its own. So, on top of finding new talent, the community also becomes your most powerful distribution channel. Think about it. Instead of spending a fortune on Google and Meta ads just trying to reach customers, you have a direct, trusted line to your core audience. They become your evangelists, spreading the word way more effectively than any paid ad ever could. Now, this all sounds amazing, but it leads us to what is probably the trickiest part of this whole journey. How do you actually start charging money without, betraying the trust you've built and alienating the very people who got you here in the first place?
The key is to understand that this is a natural progression. A community business moves through 4 pretty predictable stages. You start with aggregation, just getting people in the door. Then comes activation, getting them to talk and engage. Only in stage 3 do you even start to think about monetization. And finally, you hit institutionalization, where you scale up into a more formal agency or platform. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So when you do decide to monetize, there are really 2 main paths you can take, and they're illustrated perfectly here. You have Traffic Think Tank, an elite SEO community. They chose to charge the experts a high subscription fee for access to this private mastermind group. On the other hand, you have Superpath, a community for content writers. They kept the community free for the writers, the talent, and instead charged companies who wanted to hire them through a job board. Both are super successful, and the key takeaway is you have to monetize the group that gets the most value out of the whole transaction. So as these communities scale and become real businesses, what do they actually look like? And maybe more importantly, what are the critical risks you have to watch out for? This brings us to the core concept of the trust economy. At scale, they usually fall into one of 3 buckets. First, you have the solo agency, like Design Joy. The biggest risk there is pretty simple: founder burnout. Then there's the collective, like Raid Guild, which acts as this incredible talent pool but can sometimes struggle with making decisions efficiently. And finally, you have the platform model, like the law firm Morgan & Morgan's huge referral network, which has to deal with a ton of regulatory complexity.
But all of this success, all of it, hinges on one very, very fragile thing. What happens when the spirit of community, that genuine connection, is seen as just another commodity, something to be exploited for profit? This is where the whole thing can fall apart. The downfall of the #GirlBoss brand is really the ultimate cautionary tale. I mean, it started as this empowering movement, but the community quickly started to feel like its ideals were just being used as a marketing funnel to sell super expensive tickets. The backlash was swift and it was brutal because the way they chose to make money just wasn't aligned with the community's values. And this right here is the most crucial point of this entire explainer. In this new economy, trust is your competitive advantage. It's your economic moat. But that moat can just evaporate in an instant if your business model goes against what your community believes in. Authenticity isn't a buzzword here. It's a structural requirement for survival. So if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this idea. The businesses that are going to define the next decade, they won't be the ones who treat their communities like gold mines that you just excavate for profit. No, they'll be the ones who understand that communities are like gardens, and they need to be tended. And that true, sustainable value always comes from creating things together, not from just taking.